Hello and welcome back to Seaside Garage, and say hello to my 123 Estate 300 Turbo Diesel. I got one that is actually working. I have worked on these quite a few times in the past. I even worked on this exact one 1 year ago, I think it was. I then bought my own that turned out to be a complete rot box. And I actually ended up giving up on that. But I really wanted to own my own W123 because, at least on paper, it seems to be the perfect classic family car. It's up there with the Volvo 240 and all that, and I already had one of those. Now it's time to try one of these. Will I keep it forever? Probably not, but at the moment I am totally in love with this car. And yeah, I can hear all of you scream at the screen. Is that designed by Giugiaro tires? Yep. Not the right left though. Yeah, this is seriously a cool car, but having tires designed by Giugiaro, yeah, you probably choose the easy route. It is pretty round like all the other tires, but still, it's Giugiaro. The Mercedes though is not a Giugiaro design. I don't even know who the designer of this vehicle is. I have a feeling that it was the engineers designing it because everything is just functionality. But finally I got a 123 for myself that actually works. I don't have to do any work on this right now. There is a lot of stuff that I'm going to do something about, but it's MOT'd, it's driving, everything is fine. It's not at all a Seaside Garage project really, but I hope to turn this into my daily classic driver because it's perfect for that. If you are, like me, unable to drive modern boring cars, this just is perfect. It's supposed to be a pretty reliable car also, which is also good for a daily. Of course, that could mean that I will end up being bored, but probably not. The only thing that lets me down a little bit on this exact model is the lack of a tow hitch. I hope to find a tow hitch and attach that. In Denmark, that will mean it will have to pass another MOT, but that would really be nice. Honestly, it's quite difficult to film this car inside of the garage because it's so huge. Most people who come visit me is surprised at how small the garage actually is. It's not very big, but having small cars like Minis, I had the Mini in here just before this, it's just, let me just say it like this, it's a good thing that I like small cars because this is the absolute maximum of what is really capable of having in here without it being annoying. And the lift is also totally capable of lifting it, but it's not as fun as the small cars. If you're a long-time viewer of the channel, you will probably remember this from last year. I made a couple of videos with this car. Michael owned it back then. I swapped the Porsche for this one, by the way. Back then it had running issues. The engine was idling weird. It was really pulling well, but the idle was all over the place and shaking and all that. And I ended up finding compression loss on 2 of the cylinders. And then Michael tried to rebuild the engine and had some luck, but actually ended up putting another engine in it. But more on that in a minute. But this was a barn find a couple of years back. Michael found it, fixed it up, got it through the MOT just like I do. I'm pretty sure on camera it is going to look quite mint, but it's not. There is a lot of issues with it on the bodywork and so on. So it's not as good as it might look, but that's perfect for me because I am considering using this as a daily. The winter is coming. It would be a shame to drive around in one of these in the salt if it was in mint condition, but in this condition, I think it's perfect. It's gotta be used. Hopefully not abused, but used. Come a bit closer and take a look at the interior because it is completely lovely in my opinion. It's not leather, which I actually like. It's not. It is velour, I think is the name of this fabric. It's very nice and quite hard wearing because this car got 500,000 kilometers on the clock, and I'm pretty sure this is completely original interior. There is a patch made right over there, but it looks nice. Yeah, it's in really nice condition. The interior, a bit of wear on the transmission shifter and so on. And there is also stuff in here that I would like to fix. For instance, the blower engine doesn't go all the way to the third. And it's very stiff, but it is working though. And I would also like to fit a more modern stereo in it because being a daily, it would be nice to listen to whatever I like to listen to and not what the radio decides to play. The rear is also in nice condition. Let me throw in the line. Looks really nice. And yeah, the sticker is already there. You can get these by becoming a Patreon if you want them. The trunk. An amazing amount of space. I just love the small details about how to open up to the jack and the stuff in here, and everything is just so well made. Spare tire over here. And then underneath this carpet is the very popular rear seat setup. Which makes this into a 7-seater. It's not really possible to sit back here if you're a grown-up, but for kids it's very fine, and it's a very popular place to sit because of the view. A nice add-on. And again, just so well made. And in case you didn't know, the rear axle on a 123 is actually probably inspired by Citroën. It's hydraulic. We have a hydraulic pump on the engine and a reservoir that makes pressure to the rear axle and actually makes the rear end of the car stay in the same ride height no matter how much stuff you put into the car. So that is really nice, and it works perfect on this car. It can be a little bit troublesome if it doesn't work, but this one is leak-free and working perfectly. Just take a look at the door mechanisms on this. I just love how they are made and how they sound when you close them. It's just a bank vault kind of sound that's really nice. Also this, I'd say that is the most pretty roof rack system ever made. It looks so nice. It's just a detail that you don't see anymore. But as mentioned, it probably looks really nice on camera, and it actually also looks pretty nice in person. But there is stuff. For instance, I have some rust right there that I would like to fix, of course. Some bubbles down here that needs to be fixed at one point. One of the really bad things is this up here. It's not that bad, but it's probably hard to fix and make look nice, but that would be nice to fix. Also a bit on the front wing. But the main thing is that it's pretty solid underneath. There's actually a flaw in this model. There wasn't in my white one, not anymore. And the very rust-prone areas up here with the drain is fixed by Michael. He actually cut it open and fixed it. He has done a lot of welding to this car. And it's pretty much the same way as I like to do it. Not perfect, but it will work just fine. It looks really nice. This is a repair panel also. It looks really nice. And it is in really nice condition underneath, in my opinion. I don't know how much you can see, but it is very decent underneath. There's nothing worrying right now. I just need to keep up with the protection and the welding, so I can keep this one running for long. As mentioned in the project update video I made a while back, I actually showed this car for the first time there. The first thing I did with this car was I drove it around for a bit, then the starter gave up, and while changing the starter, I accidentally lifted the car into the gate back there because it was open, and I smashed the rear screen, so I have changed that, replaced the starter with another used unit that also has some problems. It clicks from time to time, so I'm actually going to try to change the relay and see if that makes it a little better. But I was so heartbroken about that smashed windscreen, so I just had to change it. I didn't want to film it or anything. But it's fixed now. It's just one of those things that happens. I was just too tired to work on the car that day. I shouldn't have worked on it, and the result was a smashed rear screen. But the engine, is so nice. And there is a bit of explaining to do about this engine. Because this car is a 300 turbo diesel, and the turbo is down there. But this engine block is not from a turbo. Because after I diagnosed a compression issue on number 3 and I can't remember the other one, Michael took the engine out, tried to change the piston rings, did a quick rebuild, put it back in, and it was still the same. Then I actually gave him an engine block from a 300 turbo that I had from the white one. He then rebuilt that one. Then he put the engine back in, and it had very fine compression on 4 of them. It had around 400 psi, I think he told me. But number 3, again, was down at 300 and something. Then I think he got a little bit fed up with trying to rebuild that engine, so he put this engine that he has also have apart and cleaned up and all that from another 123, but just the non-turbo version. And then he fitted the turbo on this one. There's a couple of problems with that, or potential problems with that, because it's not entirely the same engine block on the turbo and the non-turbos. This one does not have oil squirters underneath the pistons to help cool the pistons. It's supposed to also have a different camshaft. I'm not sure if Michael changed the camshaft. I have to ask him about that. The pump is different. The oil filter thing is different. There's a couple of things that are different. But he got it to work, and I gotta say, if he hadn't told me, I probably wouldn't even have noticed that it's not the correct block, because it drives fine. I'm not sure it's producing 125 horsepower as it is supposed to, but it runs really nice. But in theory, if I floor it and drive it at top speed all day, I would probably end up burning a hole in the piston because of that lack of lubrication or cooling on the piston side. But of course, I got the other engine also, and I'm pretty sure that the problem is not in the bottom end. I think there is a problem with the valve. So in the future, at one point, I'm gonna fix the correct engine and put that back into this car. And until I get around to doing that, the engine will just be standing under the workbench over here. Now this will probably be a bit confusing for people who knows these engines, because you will probably straight away notice that the pump is not from a turbo, and there's a lot of stuff not from the turbo. But this is the turbo engine block, but he fitted all the 300 non-turbo parts to this just to keep them. But this is the correct block for the turbo engine. And I'm pretty sure, it's just a guess, but I'm pretty sure the valve guides are bad on cylinder number three, and it's just that. Or the valve seat, or maybe something else. But I hope to fix this engine at one point and put it back into the car. But until that happens, I will just drive this and enjoy it. But I'm just gonna fire it up and let you listen to the wonderful sound of a Mercedes Benz diesel engine from the 80s. And then we're gonna take it for a spin. Yeah, that's the problem I'm having with the starter, by the way. That was the first try. And it's cold engine currently, but it sounds pretty nice already. Take it for a spin. On the road in the 123. Remember when I drove around in the Porsche a while back, stating that I probably was finished with that car because I needed a GTI in my life again? Cut 2, I swapped it for a, I think it's 1.7 tons of very, very long German station wagon. I am unsure if it's possible to stray much further away from a GTI. But anyway, here it is. But as mentioned, all is not well, of course. There is stuff that I would like to fix on this. There is stuff that needs to be fixed. There is squeaking brakes for one thing. And also another thing about the brakes is I have warped disc, I guess, in the front. Another thing is the rear diff is a 3.46. I'm not sure it's supposed to be that, but it's missing an ABS sensor. So I would like to get the correct diff for it, because this is an ABS car. And I'm trying to figure out whether it's actually the original gearing or if it's supposed to be a little bit lower, because this car gets a lot of revs at highway speed, and they are known to do that, but I don't know if it's a bit much. I sold the white Mercedes, but I kept the spare transmission that I bought. It's not completely the same, but I think I should be able to make it fit if it's needed. The one that's in it right now is okay, but it is shifting a little bit funny from time to time. So, but if that is vacuum problems or service or just adjustment, I don't know. But there is some issues with that also. I'm just gonna do a brisk acceleration And then I can show you what I mean about the transmission being a bit weird, especially when trying to pick up speed fast. Driving normally, it's pretty good. Oh, that was a fast one. But as you can hear, it shifts and then it flares and then it shifts. And it's a bit slow to shift. I don't think it slips, but it flares. And then I do not know how much the microphone will pick up, but I'm currently doing just a bit over 80. It will show more on the speedometer, but it is, I have checked, it's probably because of that diff. But there's quite a few revs right now. But before I got this, I drove around for a bit in the green one that I changed clutch on, the 2.4 diesel, non-turbo, manual, and it's amazing to feel the difference. The green one was lowered, it had the SLS axle disabled, it was a manual and it was the diesel. And this one is like a rocket ship comparing it to the green one. Of course, this is not a fast car, but it doesn't feel slow either. But I would like to lower the revs a bit because it's a lot of revs, especially when going 130 kilometers per hour. I think the top speed on these are 160, but still, it would be nice to just lower the revs a little bit. There's a lot more traffic today than what I'm used to because the king is in town. I just saw his ship sail past my house this morning, and now he's in the local town. And a lot of people wants to have a glimpse of him walking around. So everyone is going to town. Also like how it absorbs bumps. It's not a Citroën, but it's not far off either. It's comfortable. It's really comfortable. That is nice. Of course, I could end up regretting deciding to go for a rear-wheel driven car as a winter car, but we don't have a lot of snow anymore, so I think it will be fine. Whenever I get a new car, I spend a couple of nights just Googling road tests, commercials, pictures and all that stuff from back when they were new. That's just part of the journey of getting a new car, and I love it. It's actually one of the best things, and maybe an explanation of why I sometimes get bored with the cars a bit quickly, because at one point I have read everything and there's nothing more to know about them. But one thing that I wrote about this in a commercial was that Mercedes called it a station wagon that actually drove like a normal car, not like a big barge. And it's not completely true, but it's not far off either. It's actually way easier to drive than you might expect. It looks so big. It is big. It is heavy, but it doesn't really feel that way. It's I won't say nimble, but it's actually pretty easy to drive at high speed on small roads, small twisty roads. It feels really usable and really and it's really handling nice, and that's not a given in an old station wagon. Some of them are really, really not nice to drive. I haven't driven all station cars from the 80s. There's a lot I need to try. But I can say with confidence that this is the best station car that I have ever driven from the 80s. The Volvo 240 is of course number 2, and it's actually on some points better, and on other points it's not. But if I should pick one, this would be number 1, that's for sure. I think this is the best station car ever made in the world. Even by today's standard, to be honest. But I'm biased. Anyway, I just wanted to show you my new, probably daily, and what a daily that is going to be. This is probably the car that has divided you guys the most. Either you love it or you think it's a bit boring. But trust me, it's not boring. There's so many interesting mechanical things that I like and I'm looking forward to trying to fix. That's going to be nice. But this car is not meant to be a project car. It's meant to be my daily that I will try to maintain and keep running. Yeah, and I know in a month's time I probably sold it and traded it for a Fiat 126 or something stupid. But it's not the plan at the moment. I love this car. Anyway, I'm gonna let the end credits run while I drive over the dam, and you can enjoy the view if there is any, because the storm is picking up. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.